Rarely has mankind hesitated to eradicate the creatures that stand in the path of his conquest. If we find intelligent species, ritual extirpation, undesirable odors from another world, the rest must be destroyed. Is it possible that our dark past might repeat itself? Watch them and pray.
Goo readings, ladies, gentlemen, government agents, BDSM sex slaves tuning in to us during their 15-minute water break, and anyone who might be listening. This is Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind. I'm your host, Tasker, and we have Nick.
I gotta say, if you're like at a BDSM thing and your dominatrix gives you a 15-minute water break, they're going a little easy on you.
Yeah, is that really dominating? Is that really that's maybe a 5-minute water break?
Like, I'm gonna step on your balls with these stilettos, but make sure you stay hydrated. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, what?
Well, isn't the whole point of BDSM? It's like you're in for the sexual thrill, but you're not trying to fucking kill the guy.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, sexual thrill, especially when it comes to masochism, is subjective, man. Like, some people would think that getting pinched is like enough. You know, some people think getting slapped on the face is enough. Other guys just want to die of dehydration, and that just gets them rock hard, which is ironic because at a certain point of dehydration, you can't get rock hard. So it doesn't work out very well.
It sounds like the worst fucking existence ever. Just constantly chasing your tail for the rest of your life.
It's a physiological chastity thing for your wee-wee.
Yeah. That's the only thing that ironically gets you off. So I guess you're just never having kids, huh?
That's so weird to think about, dude.
I wonder if that's a case. Let's look into that. That's I feel like same energy as the story of the guy who transitioned, who's now trans woman. But back when the article and the thing was written, the guy who had slipped a disc in his spine and would just orgasm like 100 times a day.
That sounds awful. I mean, I know people make the jokes. They're like, "Oh man, what a life!" You know, just cooming all the time. Yeah. But think about it. Every single second of your life, you're sitting there and you're fucking at your kid's soccer game. Yeah. you fucking just cream yourself like 5 times in the game. Not a good look.
Well, the hope is that you're shooting blanks, but I have a feeling that's not the case. So in that, it's like you have to wear like a diaper and shit. Like you have to wear Depends because you have to. Like that's fucking horrible. And the worst part is nobody takes you seriously because they're just like, "Oh, I wish that was me." It's like, no, you don't, man.
Could you imagine like having a serious conversation with somebody and they just fucking start owing right in the middle of the conversation? Like you're talking with your spouse about how you guys aren't sure how you're going to pay next month's bills, and all of a sudden you're like, oh.
I think I remember we forever ago. This is just a fun little look in Nick and I's past life together. But we were at the gym, and we're lifting weight, we're grunting and stuff. And I think at one point I said to you like, "Oh man, is it weird that like technically by like lifting and grunting, people kind of know what they have like an insight of what it sounds like of us having sex?" And your fucking reply, or you didn't even skip a beat. You're just like, "Dude, I wish I sounded like that having sex." Yeah. Like, how do you sound? I think it was something like, "Ow, ow, 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 ow." It burns. And if y'all remember, once we open up our Patreon, that'll be our highest tier, where you can watch Nick and I give a less than exemplary sexual performance in a threesome with you.
Yeah, it's very less than exemplary.
It's a kind of a coin flip if either of us even get hard for it, but like,
Yeah, I don't work well under pressure, so.
It's that limelight, dude. It's hard. It's hard. Well, actually, it's not hard.
It's not exactly. See, that's the sad irony of it.
Oh yeah. All this stuff weirdly relatable to our topic today, which is the finale, the actual finale this time. I feel like this is the third finale for Jeffrey Dahmer we've done, huh?
Like, it was funny that we thought we could do it in 2, right?
Yeah, it was pretty, not a lot of foresight for us on that one.
No, it was pretty gung-ho of us. And then understandable that we could probably get it done in 3. That didn't work out either. Because, like, you got to go over what we're going to go over today, right? Everything that happened after getting caught. And that's what today's going to be. And so, yes, it is the official finale, the official conclusion. There will not be a 5th part. Mm-hmm. So this is it on Jeffrey. All right.
Yeah. Maybe that'll be our April Fool's Day episodes. We'll do Jeffrey Dahmer part 5. And it's just us I don't know. We research and actually just some other guy named Jeffrey who's just completely unrelated.
I would, if we were to do an April Fool's for Jeffrey Dahmer Part 5, I would like to write fanfic for it, like Jeffrey Dahmer fanfic.
That's not bad. I think that could work. It would be fucking horrible and probably like the thing that would get us canceled for sure, which I'm surprised has not happened yet. But that would probably be would break the camel's back, I think.
Unethical. Totally unethical, but it'd be hilarious.
That sounds like what's going to be engraved on your headstone.
Unethical, but funny. Nick. Yep.
A person to remember for sure. Oh, good God. So like we usually do before we get into the episode, we got to ask the stars what the tone's going to be, how this is going to go, how Nick and I are feeling, and see if that reflects. So you got anything for us today?
I do. Let's see. So you should be at your peak of health. Physically, you feel strong and energetic. You're in the physical and mental space to accomplish wonders. So don't be surprised if today you do just that. This would bring you the promise of a brighter future in a creative, professional, and financial domain. I don't feel particularly good today.
It's trying to cheer you up, I think.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe it's just telling me to feel that way, but I could tell you 100%, I feel like absolute hot garbage.
Well, when we get to my horoscope, I'll say right now as a spoiler, I'm not too much better.
Okay, so stars, sex is a 2 out of 5, hustle is a 3 out of 5, vibe is a 4 out of 5, and success is a 2 out of 5. So,
oof.
It's a sad day today. It's just like, Tasker and I were talking a bit before the recording, and we're just kind of in a bad mood. We're just kind of, feeling down on ourselves, and
yeah, it's pessimist. This is the special pessimistic episode, pessimistic edition episode.
Yeah, so bear with us, all right? And the subject matter isn't helping at all. It's not like we're talking about the Galactic Federation. We're talking about Jeffrey Dahmer getting brutally murdered, which not that I feel bad for the guy or anything, but it's still somebody else is dying, and everybody's dying around us, and the world's exploding, and a asteroid's coming into our orbit this week, and
yeah. It's bad.
I wished it was.
I was gonna say, it's bad when you're like, you heard that it was only gonna be in orbit, just skating by. You're just like, fuck.
That would have been such an easy out, dude. It would have been so easy.
Done. Don't even. It's like, but you don't even feel nothing. You don't even have to make a decision. You're just vapor, and back to stardust.
Yeah, man. Back from whence we came, but unfortunately, that's not how it's gonna be. So, let's just try to be, holidays are coming up.
Yeah.
Jingle bells.
Jingle all the way. And yeah, like I said, there's no asteroid to solve our problems for us. So we just got to go back to the usual and just solve it the fuck ourselves like we always have been doing and as we'll do.
Yeah, man. And let me, Jesus. All right, let's move on.
Right. See, and that's how we're actually using this episode as a way to kind of cathartically take it out on Jeffrey Dahmer's memory. So,
and what's funny is I've been seeing these, I don't know if it's some kind of algorithm of the universe, but I've been seeing these memes circulate, and it's like being reused on different formats. It says the same thing. It basically just says, psychology major, I'm sad, I'm depressed, and everybody else just look at your notes, like, what are you doing, dude? It's like, oh yeah, my bad.
Shit. Like, oh man, like why don't you just like stop being sad, man? It's like, oh, you're right. Like, shit, I forgot.
Didn't think about that one, dude. Didn't think about it.
Yeah, it's fucking. It's pretty funny though. Those are some pretty good memes.
No, but don't worry, I'm not depressed. I'm just in a foul mood today, so I'm exaggerating, as I do. I like to exaggerate. It makes me feel better.
Yeah, and I would say, yeah, you're right. I don't think depressed is the right description. I think fed up is a bit of a just more annoyed and just kind of like, fuck.
What's funny though is I feel like our lives are kind of like that bicycle meme where the guy puts the stick in the bicycle, because it's like to be honest, most of my problems are my own doing.
Yeah, no, same here. I was kind of thinking about that. Of like, oh man, well, there was that one time when I started community college so many years ago where there was a very pivotal decision that didn't feel pivotal, But I was just like, yeah, maybe I'll try a life drawing class. We'll see how that goes. Fucking kidding me?
Should have done it, man. You should have done it. It's like, dude, it just all these memes keep popping in my head. It's like that one from I think Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey, where he's like looking out. He's like, no, and you see yourself like signing up for life drawing at your community college.
Oh, and I can only imagine anybody who's listening to this right now is. I think that's more of a common feeling than even people who made the right quote unquote right decisions might be feeling that too, because everything fucking sucks now, and even doing the safe thing sometimes doesn't work. Like, what is it, that one website they just had to fucking lay off like 20% of their entire workforce or something?
I just had an epiphany.
Oh,
I think the meaning of life, and I don't mean life like in like an existential way. I mean like the meaning of beings being alive, like animals, us, whatever, is to suffer.
Yeah,
because that's the only thing that really comes naturally. Mm-hmm. Because if we don't meet our physiological needs, we suffer. If we don't meet our social needs, we suffer. Mm-hmm. And I think the meaning of life is to suffer, and the joy in life is finding ways to not suffer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, suffering is the ultimate motivator.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Very interesting.
Yeah. We'll have to go into more in depth on that in the kickback episode, because we're getting, we're getting heady, which is good. I think we're growing and maturing.
Yeah, I think we're just looking for ways out. All right, let's talk about your horoscope. What do the stars have in store for my old Scorpio buddy?
Let's see here. As career and money matters continue to advance for you, more ideas and opportunities for expanding your horizons could come to you. You may have had a hard time deciding which ones are the most practical now. It may help to make a list and then judge which ones you want to use. Expect a lot of action and many changes, particularly regarding business possibilities. Yeah, I mean, my career has been very tumultuous lately, and that's been pretty whack. But the hope is that something will work out, and that's here's to hoping. My stars are super inaccurate though. Sex 4 out of 5, hustle 4 out of 5, vibe 4 out of 5, success 4 out of 5. Like, dude, you don't need to be like that. You don't need to try to compliment me, horoscope website. Like, I know how I feel. You don't need to try to convince me otherwise.
Yeah, dude, that's straight up a falsity. That's rude. That's almost rude of them to assume that your stars are 4 across the board.
It almost feels like gaslighting to a degree. I'm just like, oh man,
no, you're good. You're feeling good. Don't worry. Yeah, you're great. Good.
You've never felt bad in your life. In fact, you are so fucking fertile right now. Like, holy shit, man. Your sperm is so strong. It's like,
dude, it's so fast, so strong.
Yeah. I bet all your swimmers are fucking just like Michael Phelps down in there.
Yeah, buddy.
That'd be a fun way to compliment somebody on their first date, huh?
Yeah. I've heard your sperm is quite fast. Would you like to procreate with me?
Yes, I heard that they have a high pH resistance, and that I think it's kind of cool.
And that's pretty hot.
Yeah, hey guys, if you try that out, let us know how it goes. And we are not liable for any lawsuits and or restraining orders.
That's right. Yeah, make sure you get consent first, for God's sake.
Exactly. But let's look at somebody's life who's way fucking worse than all of ours. And let's get to this conclusion of Jeffrey Dahmer.
All right, guys, let's do it. So, welcome back. And today, like we said, we finally conclude the story of good old Mr. Wisconsin poster boy, Jeffrey Dahmer. Okay.
Oh, yeah. America's sweetheart.
Now, everything that we've covered up until now has been his descent into one of the most prolific serial killers in the United States, if not the world. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, in the final part, we discuss his arrest, his interrogation, the trial, and his life in prison. So, without further delay, put on your big, puffy powdered judge wigs, smash that motherfucking wooden mallet, right? And don't drop the soap, because we're diving right in.
Oof, yeah, and if you guys haven't seen the video of all the officers and stuff pulling all the boxes and shit out of Jeffrey Dahmer's house, you should, because that shit's pretty harrowing, and it makes it sets it in reality that you remember. Like, there's like that one scene that guy's like holding like a human like pelvis or something like that, some kind of bone. Like, yeah, that shit was super fucking real. So, yeah, I would watch that whenever you can.
Watch that, and then also watch the Dateline NBC interview that he did, I think in early 1994.
Oh yeah,
out from prison. It was, man, it's very insightful. So definitely do that.
Yeah, that's good. Like after this episode, like that's a good like if you want to hear more of the story and hear it right out of the fucking horse's mouth. Yeah, definitely you don't want to miss that.
Yeah, if you can get past the accents, you guys will be fine. But it's very difficult for me to get past Midwest accents. It's very hard.
Yeah, they're unique.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so when we last left off in part 3, Dahmer had just been. Oh, okay, I wrote that weird. Like he'd been foiled. So,
I see.
So when we last left off in part 3, Dahmer had just been had due to a fortuitous encounter with a smart to-be victim and 2 police officers actually doing their jobs. Now we will get to his arrest, his interrogation, and his confession in this next section.
Yep. So the horror is over. His spree has ended. He is now in police custody, and from this point on, he's already had his last victim. Like no more men will die at the hands of Jeffrey Dahmer.
That's right. Now, starting that very same night of his capture and discovery, well, technically, I guess the early hours of the next day, Dahmer was starting to be questioned by Detective Patrick Kennedy. Now, Patrick Kennedy, you can find interviews with him on YouTube. You can find, I believe you can find some, him talking about it. He was very proud of the fact that he was the one that talked to, questioned, and interrogated Dahmer. He is in documentaries, so if you guys watch Jeffrey Dahmer documentaries, he will be in them because he will not say no to an opportunity to show up on camera and talk about it.
Right.
But despite his love of the limelight, he did do quite a good job questioning Jeffrey Dahmer, okay? Now, there was not much of an interrogation, as Jeffrey waived his rights to a lawyer almost immediately and told Kennedy that he was ready to confess everything that he had done.
Wow. Damn, so he was just like, dude, I'm not gonna fight this. Like, no, I know what I did was horrible and I deserve the max. So just fucking do it.
Yeah. And I think that he was I think that even when he was still killing almost near the end, he was like ready to get caught. And I think that's why he was so sloppy on that last encounter and why he did the things he did, because he was just ready, dude.
Yeah, he also lost his job at the chocolate factory, and I think that was because I think, like you said, I think he'd been considering it, but I think after losing his like favorite job that like was letting him continue to keep killing, that's where he was just like, what's the fucking point? And like, I guess I'll just keep doing this until they fucking get me, and then because maybe it's just he lost his reason, he's lost his mojo, and now all he had was killing. And like we were all saying, he was kind of in a bit of a psychosis state too. Like I think he was way fucking gone and he had no roots to reality anymore. And I think almost that was his in a weird way, cry for help of, I'm literally just going to keep doing this because there's nothing stopping me. And I'm going to be sloppy about it because I kind of want to be stopped. Like I want somebody to put me away because I know no matter what happens, I will always do this and always crave this and always want this.
Totally, man. Which is what, and we'll get into this in a little bit, but it's and that's my observation as well. And look, I wasn't around. I don't know for sure, but from the outside looking in, it seemed like you're right. Like there was a drive, an innate drive that he was not able to fight. And so when we get into the trial, I'll talk a little bit more about how I feel about that. So let's keep a little fucking post-it note right there. So over the next 2 weeks after his capture, Kennedy and his associate Detective Dennis Murphy would accumulate over 60 hours of interview time with Dahmer. Okay. And during this entire time, Dahmer was telling them everything.
Ooh, that's now 60 hours. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's about 3.5 days worth, maybe. Oh, no, I fucked that up. No, that's less than 3 days.
Yeah, it just straight over the course of 2 weeks. So that's like a 40-hour work week. So that's like a full like time job the first week, and then a part-time job the second week of just questioning,
talking to a fucking psychopath.
Yeah. So throughout this time period, Dahmer confessed to murdering 16 young men since 1987. And he also included that he murdered Stephen Hicks. Remember, he was the very first victim of Jeffrey Dahmer back in 1978 in Ohio. So he confessed to all of it.
Yeah, the shirtless jogger who just went in for some brews, and that was...
he was the shirtless jogger was the one who got away. as the first attempted, but
that's right.
Stephen Hicks was the hitchhiker.
Hitchhiker, yeah.
Yeah. And he was
Okay.
ready to go to a metal show, man. He was ready to go have a groovy time in 1978. Could you imagine a metal show in 1978?
That must have been interesting.
Too bad he didn't get to see it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny though too. We were just talking about like, oh man, if we were born in a generation earlier, like we'd be all homeowners right now. But also, there was a fuck ton of serial killers back then too. So pick your poison.
Yeah, man. Yeah, buddy. We would have thrived.
Yeah. Take that as you will, audience.
Now, the following will be some main points taken from these questioning sessions. So most of his victims were drugged to be rendered unconscious before their murder. Most were strangled. However, some were killed either through the injection of boiling water or acid into the brain, as we know.
Ugh.
He also said that he had no recollection of his second murder. Remember, Stephen Tuomi, he's the one that he killed in the Ambassador Hotel.
Yeah, where he blacked out and just woke up with his chest caved in, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, Dahmer said that he wasn't sure if Tuomi was unconscious prior to being beaten to death, but he did admit that it was possible that seeing his bare chest and after seeing the sunken chest the next morning, it may have been probable that it was a sign that he was trying to get to his heart.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah. So he admitted that at least, and he's like speculating on his own actions.
Yeah, trying to just get to the heart, but just using your fists. That's really creepy.
That's some primal stuff right there.
Mm-hmm.
Dahmer also admitted that most all of the murders committed after moving into the Oxford apartments involved a ritual posing of the corpses before dismemberment. He specified that these poses usually included the corpse's chest being thrust outward.
Oh.
Because he just loved them chests, dude. He loved them chesticles.
Yeah. It's all the ritualistic parts of it that really make it just extra creepy.
And it gets weirder. Dahmer also admitted to performing sexual acts on several of his victims post-mortem, right? AKA necrophilia. That was his jam.
He didn't like it when his partners moved.
He did not.
Ugh.
Now, which is something else I'll bring up during the trial for the trial part.
Mm.
Now, these acts did not only include, orifices and holes and stuff, but it also included sexual acts during the dismemberment process by using their viscera, their organs.
Oh God, that's ew. Oh God.
And so, of course, Nick's imagination when he was reading this started running. Like, what kind of stuff can you do with human internal organs? Now, this is not a how-to guide, right? This isn't like how,
right?
But this is just what I've speculated. So one thing I came up with was, how they have like cock rings?
Yeah.
What if you made one out of somebody's small intestine?
Yeah, that's a possibility. Creative.
Okay. You know how they have like fleshlights?
Yes.
What if he was onto something, right? He was like onto something and he was like, I'm going to make a proto fleshlight, but out of somebody's spleen.
Yeah, see, that's the first thing I thought of. See, maybe he just like took the organs and cut a hole in
penetrated,
them and just start fucking it. Like that's, I mean, and I guess there are some organs that do naturally have like openings that he probably used to, and that's just weird and creepy. Like that's super like, ugh. Like I did not know that about Jeffrey Dahmer at all.
Yeah, man, he liked them organs.
So. Weird.
Now, Dahmer noted that during his murders, blood would pool up in the chest after they had died. He would suspend the bodies over the bathtub in order to drain the blood of them. So he would, cut it like a deer, like when you go deer hunting and you're supposed to hang it up and skin it and drain the blood and stuff.
Right.
Kind of the same thing.
Savage.
He would then dice up and dispose of any organs or body parts he did not wish to keep. I imagine the stomach. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of use for the stomach.
Yeah, the gallbladder, I'm assuming. What's the thing? Pancreas?
Pancreas, yeah. So I will give a short list of things he did like to keep as far as, because he may have had his way with the organs sexually, which is hard to say like with a straight face, but
yeah.
But he didn't keep those organs in particular. Like he kept organs in particular because they were good to eat, not to fuck.
So he fucked some of them, but most of it, I think he was more for the cannibalism.
Yeah, he liked all of them, man. He was just like at a hometown buffet. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah,
because I know when I go to hometown buffet, I don't just eat the food.
right.
I shove the macaroni down my pants and wiggle around in it a little bit. So
It just, you really got to get your money's worth when you go there. You can only use it as long as you're in the restaurant.
yeah, my favorite thing to do is to go up to the soft serve dispenser, shove it up my butt, and then turn it on.
Yeah, that was the last time you went to a hometown buffet, if I recall correctly, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm not allowed in any of them anymore.
Yeah, you're like, I'll give you a new chocolate flavor to add to your ice cream.
Yeah, it's a swirl.
Fucking disgusting.
That's gross, bro.
That's awful.
Butts are gross. All right. Isn't it weird that men are attracted to butts, like on ladies?
Yeah, well, that's because of hips and evolutionary. If we're talking evolutionary, okay, the objective is because it's fucking like sick. Like, who doesn't love like a thick butt, But also evolutionarily, wide hips is a sign of easier birthing process and stuff like that.
And I get that.
Like,
I get the hip thing. I totally get it. But when it comes to like the posterior, right, and you're looking behind, you're not even paying it. You're just looking at cheek. Like, what's going on with that? You know what I mean? Like, why is that?
Same thing with boobs. I think it's just, there's no real rhyme or reason to it. I think it's just a sign of being healthy, being supple, being like, like I said, it's one of those, like, if we look at it evolutionarily, it sounds very like kind of like over analytical. So, I mean, obviously, yeah, she's got a fat ass. Like, what's not to like? But it is interesting to think about that, of like, why do we find that attractive? Like, what is, and also how the type of butt that we like tends to change generation to generation. Because I think there was a time when like small butts were like a thing. Now we're in kind of like the juicy era where we're all in like, thick like BBWs or something like that. And
well, let's
like,
not go too far. Well, I didn't say that I like BBW. So I can't just put words in my mouth like that.
I'm just saying we're in that era where that's kind of like that's a thing. But like, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. Like, I think it really is just like a sign of just being like a healthy woman, just like how with men, when like, it's a little bit different. Like, usually it's that V shape, having like broad shoulders is considered to be a really attractive trait. Being muscular, because that shows strength. If you look intimidating, they find that attractive because it looks like you could fucking protect yourself and protect them. Like I said, that's not like what everybody thinks, but if we're looking at this as a purely scientific and evolutionary trait, that's probably why those particular things are found attractive at such a popular level. Because that's the thing, is it's not a minority. Most people find like broad-shouldered men attractive, or big butt women attractive. Like, that's, I mean, trying to tell me I'm wrong. That's not like a common thing.
No, I think you're 100% right. And the people who say they aren't are fucking liars. And they're just trying to like be like SJ-Dub for sure.
Yeah, just trying to be different. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you don't have to follow the norm, but like, I think it should be addressed as such, as it is the norm, though. Like, people, there's people out there who like small butts too. There's people who like bony people, like, totally. Like, yeah, it exists. But to say that because you like a certain thing, therefore it's fucked up for you to like the other thing, that seems a little counterintuitive.
Yeah, man. That's weird. That's just something I thought about the other day, and I was just like, man, I get that, seeing a decent amount of fat on women, especially in places that are like secondary sex organs, are like, it's attractive because it shows that she's able to carry a baby and have like a supple amount of energy. I get that, but also they poop from there. All right, let's move on.
They do.
So well, I don't know.
It's our pre-programming to make sure we keep our species going. Like, it's just, you could just think of it like this, as just like, it's the fucking bloatware that got installed with us when we were made. Like, it's just, you can't delete it. It's there. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason. It's just like why nutting feels good. There's a reason behind that, because if it didn't feel good, we wouldn't fucking want to fuck ever. And then we would just die out.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. That's true. That's true, man. Yeah. Buddy.
So that's good sex ed talk. I feel like we're very educational today.
Yeah, feeling it, man. Because all we've been doing is studying for finals. All we have is fucking textbooks in our heads.
That's a really good point too. I didn't even think about that. Like, we've just both been hitting books because it's final season. So if you're listening to this right now, which you should be paying attention, get your do good on your finals. But like, we feel it. It fucking sucks.
Yeah, we're out there. We're right with you guys. All right. So keep on the good fight. Make sure you get your A's and let's move on.
Hell yes.
Now, when there were bones or full skeletons that he did not want to keep, he would pulverize and acidify them to dispose of them completely. Jeffrey also confessed to eating many body parts of some of his victims. Now, in particular, he fancied hearts, livers, biceps, and pieces of thigh muscle. Those were his favorite.
Gross.
He would often tenderize the flesh and organs before consumption, and when he did eat them, he would usually do so along with various condiments.
So, but now the really big thing we need to point out here, so it's not explicitly stated that he seasoned it.
Yeah.
Fucking white people.
Well, what? Well, okay. Look, man, no offense or anything, but
Yeah.
you, sir, don't
Yeah.
like condiments, okay?
Yeah. And he put
Now-
condiments on it, but he won't even put fucking salt and pepper. I mean, if you're going to be a fucking cannibalistic psychopath, at least have some fucking decency.
Right, but I'll give him credit for using condiments because Tasker, you don't even use condiments. So you are less open so your score is lower in openness compared to Jeffrey Dahmer.
Well, I'll have you know, I ordered a Baconator from Wendy's last night, and I did not do light condiments. I took it as is.
Did you enjoy it? Or did you regret your decision? Be honest with me and the audience.
Well, the reason I enjoyed it was because I swapped out the mayo for mustard. Because I don't like mayo. I think it's gross.
I think you're gross, dude.
Yeah.
Ketchup and mustard on a Baconator? What the
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with that? It's meat, cheese, ketchup, mustard on a bun. Like what's and bacon. What's to hate about that?
The only time mustard should ever be on a burger or a sandwich is if there is lettuce.
Why does that matter? Lettuce doesn't taste like anything.
Exactly, but it's a texture thing. The texture of lettuce goes a lot better with that bitiness of mustard than just like a straight up savory bacon, cheese, and beef mess. You know what I mean?
I thought it was fine, but whatever.
I'm just fucking with you. I'm just trying to I'm just gaslighting you. All right.
You son of a bitch.
But to be 100% genuine, I am happy that you got condiments, full condiments, not light, on your Baconator. That's a big step, and I'm proud of you.
Yeah, because you were pretty. I think it was like a couple months ago. I had an episode where I said I got light condiments, and you were not happy about that.
I don't remember my reaction, but I probably was not happy. Although
Yeah,
internally I was happy because it was probably like a step in the right direction, you know?
Right. Yeah, you're pretty. It was a mixture of horror and disappointment, I think.
The next steps in our friendship is going to be for me to get you into mayo and blue cheese because those are the top two.
Yeah, blue cheese is not that bad. I just prefer ranch.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had it before because you've already forced me to have blue cheese before, and it was fine. I didn't want to admit it, and I made myself hate it more than I actually did because stubborn. But like, no, I'll freely admit, like, blue cheese isn't that bad. It's just I just think ranch is better. And it turns out there's a huge war about that that's continually ongoing.
I'll eat either one, whichever one's more readily available. I don't care. But if I had a choice, it would probably be blue cheese, but it depends on where it comes from because not all blue cheese is created equal, just like not all ranch is created equal.
True. That's very, very much on the money.
So it's an interesting question. Who has the best blue cheese for like an available chain throughout the country? My money is on, now this is going to come as a surprise, Red Robin has some of the best blue cheese.
Red Robin has good range too. I'm with you. Red Robin's I feel like a lot of people sleep on Red Robin, dude. It's really good.
It's tasty, man. Big burgers, bottomless fries, and good condiments. So I don't know. That's just me, man.
I got to give ourselves a pat on the back how we went from like complete like gut-wrenching gross Jeffrey Dahmer to somehow talking about palatable yummy stuff and seamlessly.
Because I'm hungry, man, and we've talked multiple times on this podcast about cannibalism. All right.
Right.
It does not faze me anymore, and I'm hungry.
I'd say I think we're handling this quite well and professionally.
Yes. I'm proud of you anyway. That's the moral. That's the long and the short of it.
Yeah, thank you. But my point being is I don't think Jeffrey used salt and pepper, and that's kind of a bit of an eye roll for me.
Yeah, but what more do you expect Now, I hate to keep picking on the Midwest, all right? But what more do you expect from literally the whitest white people in the country?
Yeah, and I also too, like, I'm sure after you've committed murder, you're probably not in the best headspace. You're probably forgetting things. You're probably just kind of, not all there. So maybe I'll give them that little benefit, but I think it's almost as criminal as the murder.
I was gonna say the same thing. I think that's probably the worst diagnosis he could get was the fact he didn't use seasoning compared to his other ones.
Fucking like they're all like interviewing him and stuff. It's just like, and then he's like, and then I ate them, and they're just like, oh, okay. Did you use seasoning? They're like, no, I just used condiments. So then they all gasp and like freak out. Lock him up. Holy shit! I don't even need to continue.
He's a monster.
Fucking put him to the chair. They're like, no. Good God.
So Jeffrey said that he was completely swept up by his need and in his compulsion and need to kill. He also stated that, quote, it was an incessant and never-ending desire to be with someone that at whatever cost, right? Someone good looking, really nice looking. It just filled my thoughts all day long, unquote.
I like how your Jeffrey voice makes him sound like just the jolliest fucking beer drinking Wisconsin to exist. Just not a bad thought in his mind.
Hey man, I will never do him justice in order to not pay tribute.
Yep, that's a fair point.
At one point during these interviews, Dahmer was asked why he had kept 7 skulls and 2 entire skeletons from his victims. Now, this is something very important, so pay attention to this part for later in the trial. Jeff responded by saying that he was in the process of creating a full-fledged altar displaying the collected and preserved body parts of the victims. He was going to have incense on this altar, black cloth, the whole shebang.
Fuck. That's quite a project.
Yes. Now, when asked in a November 18th, 1991 interview for whom the altar was dedicated to, Dahmer said, quote, myself, it was a place where I could feel at home. He further, unquote, he further described his intended altar as a, quote, place for meditation, unquote, from where he believed he could draw a sense of power, adding, quote, if this had happened 6 months later, that's what they would have found, unquote. So he was like ready to work on this thing and he was going to meditate on it and get power from it. And that's why something that we're going to talk about in the trial in a little bit is going to be very important. Okay, so remember that.
You know what's weird is I think if it was like pre-Dark Ages or something like that, Jeffrey Dahmer probably would have been like in power, like his fucking weird ghastly altar, like, Vlad the Impaler kind of era. Like he probably like would have been like, yeah, he probably would have been in a high position. But I mean, it says a lot about how far we progress as a species.
Yeah, and I think we've been doing a great job. And I was thinking the same thing. He would have been the talk of the town during Vlad the Impaler days. He would have been, men would want to be with him and women would want to not be with him. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And he would have his altar of actual human bones and people would respect him for it. But thankfully, yeah, that's not the case. I was just thinking about that of like, with the black thing, the black tablecloth and all the bones and stuff like that. Like back then, that's like shit like warlords used to do all the fucking time. Although back then there wasn't like, drugs to, knock people out. I don't think Jeffrey had the backbone to, stand up to other warlords. Cause that's the thing. It's easy to get it, but the hard part is keeping it.
Damn straight, man. Just like pimping, man. It ain't easy, but it's also pretty easy. You know what I mean?
Wild, but well, good thing they caught him though. And that altar was never made. And I do believe there's actually drawings of it too that they recovered that I think you could look up and find online.
Yes. So Dahmer did draw some sketches of what this altar was to look like, and it looks like what I would draw. Like it looks like something with my level of drawing ability, or maybe like a 3-year-old's. You know what I mean?
Got you. Let me give my artist interpretation here. Jeffrey Dahmer drawing. Yeah, I mean, his line quality is like okay. It's that's a pretty typical untrained artist, but like, I mean, if he tried, like maybe, but I mean, it's surprisingly clear. It's surprisingly cohesive. Like there's not a lot of scribble. I'm surprised at that.
Well, you know what they say, man. All people who could have been great artists end up doing terrible things, Tasker. I've been keeping an eye on you ever since this whole Hitler business, and now Dahmer. Good God.
I don't think art was ever really in the sphere for. Well, no, because he was trying to build a fucking an altar, so he was starting to get a little artistic.
Yeah, he just chose 3D medium, which is well, he likes to use his hands, so
Yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah. Well, I'd say it's not fair to critique his work because obviously he's untrained, and I feel like that's a really mean thing to do.
No, do it. Oh, far be it from us to be mean to Jeffrey Dahmer.
Well, it's just like if I make fun of Jeffrey Dahmer's art for being unrefined because he's not an artist, like what does that say about every other artist who's just starting out? Like, it affects other people. I want to roast him, but it's just, that I have a responsibility with my skill set.
I don't, so I'll do it. Look, if you guys out there look up the Jeffrey Dahmer drawing and then look at your drawings. If yours are similar to his, just give up. Just stop it. You know what I mean? The last thing we need in this world is more artists. No offense, Tasker. All right. This is not the Renaissance. All right. Nobody's just fucking painting for a living anymore. Just move on with your life and do something productive. All right.
And honestly, if you take Nick's advice right now, you might be saving yourself a lot of pain in the butt. So not that I'm saying give up, but it's not too late. Like you can get a normal job and afford things. Like,
don't quit your day job. That's what he's saying.
It's not too late. Like you can still make it through.
Tasker's a very talented artist, all right? That's why I don't say these things to him. But to all y'all out there, just stop it.
Well, I mean, shit, I technically made it. I'm trying to get the fuck out of there. So,
actually, one of our listeners, I'm not going to say her name, but one of our listeners is a talented artist as well. So, except for you two, you know who you are. Everybody else, stop it, all right?
Yeah. There's, it's not worth giving up your ability to go out to eat and afford Christmas presents.
Yeah. Study a STEM major, do something productive that maybe you can cure cancer one day.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost, if you can't pull it off while you're still living at home, I mean, I'm not saying if you really have that much faith in yourself, go for it. But it is unkind out there. So yeah, just do you, man.
Yeah, you do you. If you don't have to worry about money, then fucking do it. All right, Leonardo or whatever. I don't know. I only know like 3 artists, dude. I know 3 names. That's it.
Yeah. Well, and also too, another big thing that I think is really important is success is almost never, if not ever, self-made. Like success is made through community. Like a lot of really famous people who pulled themselves up from the bootstraps, either they were poor or no, they weren't poor. They were rich. They had help. They met somebody who helped them. So if you have that, fuck yeah. But, make sure you got a plan. Make sure you got money. Anyways, that's we can talk about that on the kickback.
Yeah, on our kickback, we'll be like your guidance counselors for your career. All right.
There we go. We could build a career. We could build a career in career counseling. How about that?
Perfect, dude. Perfect. All right. Now, we will get into some of the brief details of Jeffrey Dahmer's indictment. Okay, just some of the details. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious where it's going, but just so we have the facts straight.
Right.
On July 25th, only 3 days after his discovery, Dahmer was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. After more details about his crime surfaced through his confessions, by August 11th, he was charged with an additional 11 counts of murder. Then, back in Ohio, investigators were able to corroborate Dahmer's story about Stephen Hicks. Remember the hitchhiker?
Yeah.
So they found the bone fragments and molars in the area where they were told to look. So with this revelation, he was also charged with the murder of Stephen Hicks by authorities in Ohio. So a total of 16 charges of murder across 2 states.
Well deserved.
Well deserved. Now, you may be thinking the math's not adding up here, because it's not. Now we have to talk about what Dahmer was not charged with, okay? He was not charged with the attempted murder of Edwards, and he was not charged with the murder of Stephen Tuomi, and that's why the numbers don't add up, because we can't forget Stephen Tuomi was killed by Dahmer.
Right. So they just didn't charge him at all?
Well, the reasoning behind this lack of indictment for Tuomi was because they could not prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, it may seem kind of dumb, but the problem here is that he legitimately had no recollection of the incident, and there was no physical evidence of Tuomi's body. So it was basically just off of the video surveillance of Dahmer and Tuomi going into the hotel, and then Dahmer's confession of it. But they don't have, his body. They don't have forensic evidence from the hotel room because it's been fucking years. So
that's just luck. I mean, he's already getting hit with all these other charges, so he's already going to die in prison. But it's another one of those things of that's the fault of our justice system is sometimes you can just slip through the cracks. Totally.
And it's a goddamn shame too, because even though we all know, even though he wasn't charged with it, we all know he killed Stephen Tuomi. So it's like, oh, now this is going to be controversial. Probably the most controversial thing I've ever said on the podcast. Kind of like O.J. Simpson, right? We all know he did that shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but the law says otherwise. And it's the same case with Stephen Tuomi and that murder. We all understand he killed him, but unfortunately, Stephen's family won't get any real justice, law system justice because of this. So
yeah,
just keep that in mind.
Didn't OJ get arrested a couple years after anyways for trying to break into a museum or something?
He tried to I think it was a dude's either a hotel room or apartment. He was trying to break into to rob his own memorabilia.
Oh dear.
That was sold to him.
Oh God.
And he still has a Twitter account. Oh my God. What in the fuck is going on in this world?
Yeah, and we wonder why this nation is kind of falling apart.
Well, there you go. One of the blue collar comedy guys, I forgot his name. There's your sign. Who says that?
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. That was a flash in the pan. All right, let's move on.
You know what we're talking about. Let us know in the Discord.
So, on January 13th, 1992, a preliminary hearing was held at which Dahmer pleaded guilty, but insane, for 15 counts of murder. Okay. So he, like I said, he was ready for this. He was like, I did it, but I did it because I was under mental, I had a mental or personality disorder. And that's what we're going to get into now. Okay. This is the interesting shit because it really says a lot about the justice system, and it says a lot about, and I want to give my opinion as well. And I want you to hear your opinion as well too.
Sounds good.
Okay. So with that out of the way, with all the indictments out of the way, mostly as an explanation as to why he was only being charged with 15 rather than 16 counts of murder, let's get into the trial itself. Okay. Now, the trial began on January 30th, 1992. Now, since Dahmer previously riddle me this, Tasker. This is something I have a question about. I was too lazy to look into it. Okay. Throughout the different readings that I did for this, I should say my keeper read for me, right? I according to our lore, I can't read. So my keeper was reading these things to me, and every time in obviously when talking about law, instead of saying pled, it says pleaded. Now, why is that? When pled would be what I would imagine to be the grammatically correct. It's like hanging. It's like hung and hanged and stuff.
Right. I would say it's probably just law, because law, when you're writing law and with stuff, it's super official and there's a very specific rhetoric you need and the reason being is the rhetoric needs to have this high specificity because they want to make as little room for interpretation as possible or change the level of interpretation to favor them. So I think it's more of I don't know law, how to read law or how to write law, but I think it probably has something to do with that of it's a specific rhetoric that you can't really contest because they say he pleaded because it was he pleaded. Is that was what they say, right?
Yeah.
He pleaded guilty. And I think because he pled guilty, which we say casually, but I think in the official, I could be wrong. If you're a lawyer out there and you know why they do that, let us know, because that is super interesting. But my guess is that there's just a very specific way to line it up to where it can't be brought up in a trial again, or it can't be brought up in they misinterpreted, they said this the wrong way, therefore the trial's invalid. So fine, you have to say it like this every time.
So strange, because when I'm relaying the information, for our audience, it's hard for me to say pleaded. So that's why I was just thinking about that. It's why, but interesting.
Yeah, or maybe there is no point at all. Maybe it's just traditional. Because also sometimes that's another reason why people do shit is just because, well, it's just kind of how we've always done it, so we just keep doing it.
Yeah, good point, man. All right, so I will go by this though. I will say, so now since Dahmer previously pleaded guilt by insanity, there was no initial trial to establish guilt on his part, right? So they're of course bypassing that stuff. He pleaded guilty.
Yeah.
Instead, the main focus in the beginning was pretty much for the whole trial was to determine his claim of insanity, because that's huge in this case.
Yeah, because so he pled insanity though, right?
Yes,
Pleaded.
That's weird, isn't it? It doesn't. It does not roll off the tongue, dude.
Yeah, it does not make me feel happy to say it either. So.
I feel like I'm from the South when I say that shit. No
Pleaded.
offense to anybody in the South. I pleaded guilty. Yeah.
You're not wrong.
So the prosecution said that there was no mental or personality disorder that would reduce Dahmer's ability to understand the horrific acts which he had committed. The defense was trying to say that Dahmer was indeed suffering from a mental or personality disorder and that he had been driven to commit these crimes. Basically, that he had no control over his actions and could not determine right from wrong. Okay, that was the basic outline of the two sides.
Okay. But did they determine that, or are you going to get into that?
We're going to get into some detail here because there's some stuff we got to talk about, and I want to hear your opinion on some of this stuff.
Cool.
Now, the first expert witness on the defense side was Dr. Fred Berlin, whatever, stated that Dahmer was unable to conform his conduct at the time due to him suffering from a major paraphilia. Of course, that would be necrophilia in this case, a specific philia.
Mm-hmm.
A second expert witness, Dr. Judith Becker, confirmed for the defense that Dahmer was indeed a necrophiliac.
Mm-hmm.
Then finally, what we've all been waiting for, a forensic psychiatrist named Dr. Carl Wallstrom officially diagnosed Jeffrey with borderline personality disorder, schizotypal personality disorder, alcohol dependence, and a psychotic disorder.
Wow.
Now, just as a side note here, before we talk about this, I could not find which psychotic disorder he was diagnosed with. Okay. Mm-hmm. It could be a lot of things, but it could be anything from schizophrenia to schizoaffective to delusional disorder. There's all kinds of psychotic disorders. There's like a brief psychotic disorder. So I don't know. I wish I knew, but it's one of them that he was diagnosed with, which makes sense because at the end there, remember, he was starting to be a little delusional. And to a sense where he was losing ground with reality. So
yeah, that's not normal. Normally, even on our worst days, people don't go that bad. So there's definitely something wrong there for sure. And unfortunately, we don't have access to the actual court record, so we can't really say for sure.
Right. And I don't have his notes. I don't know exactly what the hell's going on. I can tell you that schizotypal personality disorder makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Of alcohol dependence is a no-brainer.
Yeah, that was obvious. Yeah.
And I can see some traits of borderline personality disorder just from what I've read of Jeffrey Dahmer. So in my opinion, it makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. So now something that I want to bring up is a lot of times people, wait, maybe I misread the.
Uh-oh.
Okay. No, I didn't misread. I'm good.
Okay.
I had a brain fart.
I was gonna say we haven't had a platinum official CEO TPK oopsie daisy in a really long time.
No, I totally had a brain fart. I was like, wait, did they say schizotypal personality disorder, a psychotic disorder? But I'm like, no, they're different things. So never mind. Okay. I fucking brain farted hard.
In the clear.
So, but I should say that schizotypal personality disorder is often confused with being schizophrenia, because of the name. It makes sense. But really the marked traits of schizotypal personality disorder is a very difficult time forming close relationships and delusional / paranoid thinking. And last but not least, what we could call odd or eccentric behaviors. Now, I want to remember that. Do you remember now at the end there, he was talking about an altar and meditation and gaining power.
Yeah.
And also, of course, he had a hard time forming relationships. So in my opinion, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to line up, especially because schizotypal. I was like, I don't know if that was schizophrenia though. I mean, I don't know a lot about that, but that makes a lot more sense as something like that. Of just like he's just there is a way of labeling when you have very erratic, weird fantasies, behaviors, what you derive power from, what you derive confidence from, what you derive like when it's these really dark, horrible things. That's not normal. Like that's not people don't normally like. It's not that easy to like become that because I feel like there's some people who freak out where it's like, oh, if my kid accidentally watched a Cannibal Corpse concert or accidentally watched like House of a Thousand Corpses, like now they're going to be a serial killer. It's like, no, takes a lot more than that. I mean, your kid might be fucking traumatized and horrified, or he might just become goth, but it's just, it's not that easy. You can't fuck up your brain that simply because if you could, trust me, there'd be a lot more fucking serial killers out there.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah. So what do you think? I mean, in my opinion, I think that these are pretty sound diagnoses. Again, don't have the court records, don't have the interviews.
Yeah.
But just from what we know about him, it makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that. And I think also too, I would not call him insane. I think he is just fucking evil. I think he's just, and I think all this stuff, like, it's a good way to explain it and it's a good way to label it. And, but like when you like killing people, that kind of separates you from everybody. And that's kind of not really something that really, can't really get over that, especially if you have an obsession over it. Like it is what it is. So I think he's 100% lucid. And I don't think he deserves to be able to hide behind insanity because there are some fucking serial killers like was it like Richard Chase who actually was just a complete lunatic.
Yeah, and Richard Chase seemed to have traits of schizophrenia for sure, just like straight up schizophrenia. And you're not aware of delusions in most cases with schizophrenia. When it comes to schizotypal, there's possible periods of psychosis. But usually people can tell the difference because it's brief and it's not as intense as schizophrenia. So I agree. I think, but the only thing I wish we knew more about was that psychotic disorder that he was diagnosed with, because that would tell us some more about, because that's the biggie. That's the one that's like, okay, if he's really insane and he doesn't know what he's doing, that's the big one. Not personality disorders, not alcohol dependence, psychotic, but we don't know. So it's just speculation.
I think the fact that he got arrested, admitted to everything, is just, waived his lawyer rights and all that. I think he knew exactly what the fuck he was doing. And I don't believe for a minute that he was just like lost to something he couldn't control or stuff like that. Like, yeah, okay, the alcoholism for sure. Like that's a real fucking problem. That's hard and addictive. But I think the killing people thing, I think he made a choice.
And I think that he gave into something for sure. Something that he was consciously giving into, because I don't doubt that there was a drive, some kind of a need in some of these people to kill or in this case, to get what happens after the kill, right? The body parts, the closeness. But I agree. I think it was totally conscious. And obviously, I mean, in my opinion, it was evidenced by the fact that he fucking meticulously, until near the end there, but he meticulously got rid of, like, he acidified body parts to get rid of, you know what I mean? It's just like,
he had a plan.
Yeah.
When you're in a psychotic state and you're doing things without being conscious or lucid, like you don't have necessarily, you may have a plan, but not like, that's pretty meticulous. Like that's kind of like, you could make that argument of like, well, he's just high functioning. And it's like, nah, I think it's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that some of these diagnoses are pretty accurate, but also he knew what he was doing. He, like, personality disorders don't make you forget everything that you just did as if you just killed somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm with you. I do agree that I think he definitely, like, this diagnosis is correct, but I don't think that justifies him enough to be reason for insanity plea.
Yeah. So I'm with the prosecution on this one. So with that being said, let's talk about the prosecution and their expert witnesses.
Right.
So the first witness on their side was Dr. Philip Resnick. Now, Dr. Resnick stated that Dahmer did not suffer from primary necrophilia because he seemed to prefer, and now this isn't his words, he seemed to prefer live sexual victims. Something that goes against what we heard time and time again.
Yeah. Dahmer himself like admitted that is not true.
And now the only thing that they used to back this statement up was the fact that he, for a little time there, attempted to create like submissive sex slave zombies with the acid, right?
Right.
But that's not enough because obviously it seemed to be more in favor of unconscious sex. So I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty weak.
Now, another expert witness, Dr. Fred Fostel, did not believe that Dahmer was suffering from any mental disorders at the time that would hinder his ability to differentiate between right and wrong. I agree with that. He, like Tasker and I just discussed, he had a plan, he had a cleanup, he had a way of disposing of the body. He knew if he didn't know what he was doing was wrong, he wouldn't have given a shit about cleaning anything up. He probably would have been killing people in bars and stuff.
And I think that's a super good point you brought up, is if he didn't think it was wrong, I don't think he would have taken that many lengths to cover it up. Like, you only hide shit when you're guilty, when you don't want to be found. Like,
yep.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, fuck, even his words when he got caught for what I've done, I should be dead. Yeah, 'cause he knows what he did. Piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, the final witness, Dr. Park Dietz, testified that he did not believe Dahmer to be suffering from any mental disease or defect at the time that he committed the crimes, stating, quote, Dahmer went to great lengths to be alone with his victim and to have no witnesses, unquote. Very true. Remember, he would always lure his victims somewhere else, usually to his place of residence at the time, where he could do what he wanted to do without any witnesses. So it makes sense to me.
Good point. And great emphasis on great lengths. That's not just something like you just kind of cobble together. That takes time.
Absolutely. He explained that there was ample evidence that Dahmer prepared in advance for each murder, therefore his crimes were not impulsive. I think the only one that could be construed as impulsive was maybe Stephen Tuomi.
Yeah, but that was way early on. But all the rest of them, it's pretty dang obvious. And I mean, like, the guy was buying barrels and shit to pre-murder to be ready for when he does eventually murder. Like, if that's not fucking determined, I don't know what is.
Now, although Dietz did concede any acquisition of a paraphilia was not a matter of personal choice, he also stated his belief that Dahmer's habit of becoming intoxicated prior to committing each of the murders was significant, stating, quote, if he had an impulse to kill or a compulsion to kill, he wouldn't have to drink alcohol to overcome it. He only has to drink alcohol to overcome it because he is inhibited against killing, unquote. So yes, he's right. I think that Dahmer, and we've talked about this in the series, he didn't like the killing aspect. So I see where he's coming from, but I still believe that there was a compulsion to get to the end goal. There was a need to have a body with him, body parts, that kind of stuff. So I agree, but I also think they could have expanded on that, you know?
Yeah, that is interesting, like the usage of alcohol in this whole thing, because like we were saying, he was pretty fucked up when he did it, and a lot of that stems from the fact that he did not enjoy killing. He did not like to do it. It was a big pain in the butt, but he wanted that end result so bad that he was willing to kill. And it was almost like, I feel like if there was a way for him to get dead bodies without having to kill that were like exactly what he wanted, he would have done that in a heartbeat. That's just so much less effort.
Yeah. But hey, man, this ain't the 1800s. You can't just go out and dig up graves anymore. You know, they got like fences and security, like they got like night watchers. So it's interesting that he thought it was an easier task to lure people and kill them in order to get bodies, but also like, but then also you don't know what you're getting when you dig up graves. He had a specific type, and I think that was a big part in it. Is he wanted to find the ones he wanted.
Yeah, so exactly. And he had a whole ritual about it, and like it was just, I think exactly that. And like, you know, there could be a way you can do this without murder, but then you don't get what you want. You don't get the exact thing that you want, and the ones that he like cherry picked to be his exact specification, which is really scary, but it's methodical, and that's why he did it.
Yeah, I agree, man. I totally agree. So Dietz ultimately diagnosed Dahmer with substance use disorder, paraphilia, and schizotypal personality disorder. No psychotic disorders. sound. Like, these all make sense. They left out borderline. Borderline was definitely borderline for me. I know, it was bad. I'm sorry. So, but no psychotic disorders.
Got it.
Now, they brought in 2 impartial psychologists appointed by the court to examine Dahmer. And these 2 psychologists were not with the defense and they were not with the prosecution. They were simply there just to see what was going on.
I see.
I spelled that totally whack. Okay, forensic psychiatrist. So these 2 people were forensic psychiatrist George Palermo, and clinical psychologist Samuel Friedman. So Palermo stated that the murders were the result of a, quote, pent-up aggression within himself. He killed those men because he wanted to kill the source of his homosexual attraction to them. And killing them, he killed what he hated in himself, unquote. Now, that is an old school psychoanalytic, psychodynamic take on it that I don't personally agree with.
Yeah.
But
I think, like we said before, I think he just, it's digging a little deep. I think he just wanted dead bodies to eat and have sex with.
Yeah. See, that's interesting. Is psychodynamic stuff super interesting because it's interesting to see how things in your past could relate or in your life could relate to your current behavior. But sometimes it's a stretch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oof, whack.
Palermo concluded that Dahmer had a severe mixed personality disorder with antisocial, obsessive-compulsive, sadistic, fetishistic, borderline, and necrophilic features, but otherwise legally insane. Makes sense.
Fuck yeah. Hell yeah.
Friedman,
not to the
whole list
to
of
the diagnosis.
Yeah, dude. Give me those fetishistic personality disorders anytime, baby.
Hell yeah. Just line it up, put them in plates in front of me. Hell yeah.
Just pee in my mouth, you know?
Yeah. Gross.
So Friedman, the other gentleman, testified that it was a longing for companionship that caused Dahmer to kill. He stated, quote, Mr. Dahmer is not psychotic, unquote. I can get more on board with that assumption because Dahmer himself admitted he wanted closeness. He wanted them to not leave. So I get that, but also he concluded that he was not psychotic. So we have 3 against 1 on the whole psychotic versus non-psychotic thing.
Yeah, which I think is accurate because he did suffer from a lack of companionship, but the weird thing is his idea of companionship was really twisted and horrible, and this was the only way he would feel satisfied. And that's to a degree is tragic, but it's also you killed fucking 16 people.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Kind of hard to feel bad for him.
Also, I should note that Friedman spoke kindly of Dahmer, describing him as, quote, amiable, pleasant to be with, courteous, with a sense of humor, conventionally handsome, and charming in manner. He was, and still is, a bright young man, unquote. He diagnosed Dahmer with a personality disorder not otherwise specified, featuring borderline, obsessive-compulsive, and sadistic traits. Makes sense again.
Also, you keep in mind that charming personality is how he lured people to their deaths.
Yep. That we'll see as we cover more serial killers in our podcast. We will see that being a great pattern. That's just the way it is, and it's an overlapping trait with different personality disorders. So we'll see.
Wild. So
this trial lasted for 2 weeks just to determine his sanity, basically. Now, up until February 14th, which I think is Valentine's Day.
Yep.
When closing arguments were given by both the prosecution and the defense. The very next day, the verdict concerning Dahmer's state of sanity was given. He was considered to be sane and had not suffered from any mental or personality disorders at the time of his murders. I totally agree with the first one. He ain't sane. But he definitely had some. He ain't sane. Oh no, he is sane. He ain't insane. Sorry, I messed that up. He was definitely sane. He knew right and wrong. He covered his tracks. But they also stated that he didn't have any personality or mental disorders at the time of the murders. That's not true. He definitely had some personality disorder stuff, but that's beside the point. The whole point was to figure out if he was insane or not.
Yeah, and I can see him maybe having some, it probably wasn't as bad until, you started fucking killing people, which I imagine kind of, cold-blooded killer or not, killing people makes changes to your psyche. I firmly believe that. I think whether you're at fault or not, whether it's a good or bad change, a change will happen. And if he had these disorders before, which I think can agree on, he probably did. Certainly murdering made it a lot worse, and I think definitely heightened them because of the spike of all that, of just doing this horrendous thing, and the trauma of ending a life, and and that whole deal. Like, I can imagine, like, it just took it from like a level 4 to like a level 10, like that.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, so if you have these pre-existing conditions, or at least the start of them, and then all of a sudden you started killing people, and your whole cognitive world changes, the way that you think things and interpret things, man, amplified. And it's just like, this is what you get, it's terrible.
I agree completely.
So 2 days later, on February 17th, formal sentencing for his crimes commenced. Dahmer was sentenced to life imprisonment plus 10 years for each of the first 2 counts. And for the remaining 13 counts, he got another mandatory life sentence for each, plus 70 years each. So a little overkill, but you get it's out of principle, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, many out there might be wondering why did he? Okay, I see. I was hungover when I wrote this. Why did he not get the death penalty? Because, as you could imagine, in a lot of states, 15 counts of first degree murder, usually, you get the life death penalty.
Right.
Well, Wisconsin has abolished it since 1853, so the best they could do was just a shit ton of life imprisonment verdicts.
And I think a lot, because some people might be thinking, like, why give him 13, or what is it? How many life sentences did he have?
Altogether, he got 1 for each, so 15.
Yeah, and it seems almost pointless because obviously, it's like he can't live 15 full lifetimes. Like, that's ridiculous. But the point being is that you're never getting out, even if you can somehow get off on one of those charges. Because that's the thing is, as time goes on, sometimes they acquit people for shit. But if you're in if you had, say, 2 life sentences, and then you got acquitted for 1 and managed to get a reduced sentence for the other, well, you might be able to live to see life outside of prison someday. Like, that's not impossible.
True.
But by giving him 15 life sentences, even by some miracle pitch, they managed to get even 3 of his life sentence taken away.
You still got it. You still got it. That's only a fifth. You got a ways to go.
You're not getting out. You're dying in prison, and there's no hope. Like, that's why they do it.
And then I should mention, okay, because that's those. But 3 months after his conviction in Wisconsin for these ones, he was also convicted with the murder of Stephen Hicks back in Ohio in a very quick 45-minute court hearing in which he pleaded guilty. So he received a 16th life imprisonment sentence from this hearing.
Whew. There it is.
All right, and now let's talk about Dahmer's prison experience. So once sentenced, he was transferred to the Columbia Correctional Institution. For his first year of imprisonment, he was actually put in solitary confinement due to concerns for his physical safety in regards to the other inmates.
Yeah, I imagine he's not super popular.
Not popular because, 1, he killed a bunch of people, more people than crime of passion, right? I'm not saying that there's a hierarchy. There's a hierarchy of crimes in prison. Crime of passion, murder is pretty bad. But then when you just kill 16 people, that's pretty bad. On top of the fact that I can't remember exactly, but half of them were underage.
Yeah, and men, and he had sex with their dead bodies and ate them. Like, not a good. Even murderers are like, what the fuck?
Yeah, not a good combo. Okay.
Nah. And and like you were saying too, if they're underage, like, that does not. Child killers do not do well in prison, I am told.
You get put to the top, you get put to the bottom of the hierarchy, and you are on the bottom of the food chain. And that's not usually doesn't end well.
Yeah, and it just seems like a waste to throw him in prison only for him to get murdered by his cellmate the next day. So that's why, let's put him in solitary. Let's let this bubble down a bit.
But after this first year, he was moved into a much less secure unit with his consent. And this also leads to my belief that he was just ready to die.
Yeah, the man hasn't been. The dude's an alcoholic. He hasn't been able to drink since he got arrested. He can't kill anybody anymore. He can't. This driving primal force that gave him his reason for living, he no longer has. So yeah, I imagine he's not feeling too hot.
So once moved to the less intensive unit, he had more time relatively more time outside of his cell. So he was given a 2-hour work period every day in which he cleaned all the toilets in this. I think it was the unit, which is pretty gross.
Yeah, but deserved.
Deserved. Yeah. Yeah. You have to remember, it's gross in my head, but he deserved that shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shortly after this, now Dahmer became a born-again Christian and was baptized by Minister Roy Ratcliffe in the prison whirlpool.
Boo.
Now, on July 3rd, 1994, an inmate named Osvaldo Dorothy attempted to slash Dahmer's throat. It was a piece of metal filed into a shiv attached to a toothbrush while Dahmer had just finished a church gathering. Or church congregation. Now, it sounds fucking scary, okay? But by this point, like I said, Dahmer had maintained very regular contact with his mother and father, and both his mother and father stated that Dahmer was beyond ready to die at this point, and that he would accept any punishment that came his way. So he didn't give a shit that
Yeah. He probably gave him an opening. He probably might have even saw that he had it, and he was just like, all right, maybe today's the day.
And the time has come. All right, we must now discuss the death of Jeffrey Dahmer, what I call street justice. Early in the morning of November 24th, 1994, Dahmer had left his cell in order to attend his cleaning duty. 2 other inmates had gone with him to the prison gym showers to clean, Jesse Anderson and Christopher Scarver. Now, unfortunately for Dahmer, there was a 20-minute period of this trip where they were unsupervised, okay?
Which is debatable if that was on purpose or not.
Right, exactly. At 8:10 that morning, Jeffrey Dahmer was found on the floors of the gym bathrooms. He had suffered massive head trauma, and it was a 20-inch metal bar, solid metal, that did most of the work. His head was also smashed against a wall multiple times. So he took a beating, dude.
Yeah, pretty violent.
Now, at the time, Dahmer was barely still alive and rushed to the hospital, but Jesse Anderson was found there as well, beaten almost half to death with the same metal bar. Anderson would die 2 days later. No, Anderson? Maybe I wrote that wrong.
Jesse Anderson?
Was it Dahmer or Anderson that died 2 days later? Did I even talk about when Dahmer?
Let me look it up.
Look it up. I think it was Dahmer. I don't think it was Anderson, but check it out.
Okay, what's the guy's name? Scarver?
Yeah.
What's his first name? Christopher Scarver?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Murders in prison. November 28th, 1994. Jesse Anderson and Jeffrey Dahmer. He got the bar from a piece of equipment in the prison weight room, by the way. Dahmer was declared dead an hour after arriving at the hospital. Anderson died 2 days later. So you were right.
Oh, I just forgot to put in when Dahmer died. No,
yeah,
fuck.
Yeah, just the guy this whole episode's about. not a big deal at all, man.
Okay, so got it. So upon arrival at the hospital, Dahmer was declared dead only an hour after. Okay, so he had very severe head trauma with both the bar and the wall. Okay.
Yeah, I think the head smashing thing is probably what finished him off.
Now, Anderson, who was also attacked by Scarver in the showers with the pipe, I feel like this is like a game of Clue, was he was declared dead 2 days later from his injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So let's ask ourselves, what the hell happened in the showers?
Yeah.
Well, the other guy, Chris Scarver, was thought to be schizophrenic. As soon as he killed both men in the bathrooms, he rushed back to a prison guard and told them that God had told him to kill them and that they were now dead. We'll get a little bit more into that later, though, because there's something, it's a little fishy.
I think anybody could say that. Yeah. Just trying to fucking there was the demons in my head.
So we'll get a little bit more into that in a second. But upon hearing that Dahmer had been killed, his mother Joyce responded publicly by saying, quote, "Now is everybody happy? Now that he's bludgeoned to death, is that good enough for everyone else or everyone?" Unquote.
To which the world replied, shrug.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. that does sound pretty good.
So now here's what we got to talk about. Now, although Scarver confessed in 1994 to having concealed the weapon used to kill Dahmer and Anderson in his clothing on the morning of the murders, in 2015, which is, by the way, indicative of him not doing it during like a psychotic episode because he planned to kill them in the showers. In 2015, he publicly stated the murders of Dahmer and Anderson had resulted from a confrontation in which one of the two men had poked him in the back as the three had begun their assigned work detail. So now it's getting a little more. Well, let's see.
Sounds like a case of "don't touch me, bro" gone wrong.
Yeah, and I've been there, dude.
Yeah.
In this renewed account of events, Scarver claimed that the two had laughed at him when he had turned around in response before Dahmer and Anderson each walked to separate rooms to begin their cleaning duty, with Scarver following Dahmer toward the staff locker room. Scarver alleges that immediately before murdering Dahmer, he had cornered him and presented a newspaper article detailing Dahmer's crimes and demanded that Dahmer answer whether the account was true. Because if you're somebody like Jeffrey Dahmer who goes into prison, the last thing you do is tell people what you're in for. All right.
Yeah.
So it could be very real that some of these people didn't know what he did.
True.
And it took seeing a newspaper to do that.
Yeah. And I don't know how much access to outside news you really get in a prison system. So maybe it took them a while to figure it out and they pieced it together.
Scarver further alleged that he had been revolted by Dahmer's crimes and that Dahmer had been openly unrepentant, that Dahmer taunted prison employees and fellow inmates by shaping his prison food into imitations of severed limbs, complete with ketchup to simulate blood splattering, and that prison staff, knowing of Scarver's hatred for Dahmer, had deliberately left the two men unsupervised so that he could kill him. Now we have to remember that this is one man's account, and one man's account who wants attention.
Bit unreliable. I wouldn't be surprised if he'd even know who the fuck Dahmer was. I think he just got mad that they laughed at him and just fucking murdered him.
Yeah. Now, furthermore, Scarver stated that Dahmer was so disliked by fellow inmates that he required a personal escort of at least one guard whenever he was out of his cell to prevent inmates from attacking him. So this is, again, guys, this is all stuff coming from Scarver. For whatever reason he did it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the main point here. Dahmer's dead. He has been dead for damn near, 30 years now?
Yeah.
So, he's not going to be hurting nobody. And last but not least, in his will, Dahmer said that he did not want any funeral services to be conducted upon the event of his death, and he wanted to be cremated. So in September 1995, Dahmer was cremated, and the ashes were split up between Joyce and, was it Leonard? Lionel his father.
And that's it.
That's fucking Dahmer, dude.
Oh, man. What a fucking wild tale. Just like, it was just such a... Wow. And it's interesting. It's what's that one quote where it's like, this is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but with a whimper. And that sometimes these horribly catastrophic stories just end so quietly.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
But, like I said, that's street justice. That's, for whatever motive Scarver had, he did it. And now he's dead. So.
Yeah, exactly. And it was, like you said, there's a lot of unreliable narrating going on here, a lot of unreliable storytelling, because I feel like I believe more in the camp of, like we were saying, he probably didn't even know who Dahmer was, but then when he heard he just murdered one of the highest profile serial killers on the planet, well, yeah, people start, they like attention. They want to be in the limelight. They want to be like, I killed this monster. Yeah, fuck you. And then he learned he didn't have to even use the schizophrenia excuse anymore.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, that was, not officially diagnosed.
Yeah, a little kind of, maybe I was a little ahead of myself there. Maybe I got a little excited, but it's like, it's just, that's wild, man. That is a wild story, but stomach turning at times. But we got to talk about the cannibalism. We got to talk about all that shit because that's the full experience. And that is it for our first ever serial killer expose.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed doing it. I think it was difficult at times, but it was, insightful.
It's a good change of pace.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to doing more in the future. So, I was thinking about this. If there's any particular ones that you guys want to hear about, you reach out to us on social media, and we'd be more than happy to cover other true crime serial killers that spark your interest, you know?
Yeah, because it's not just about what we like to talk about, but also we want to know what you want us to talk about. So, and I'm sure there's plenty that we can reach a good middle ground on. And there's just, it's really crazy, interesting stuff. It's just even crazier that all of it actually happened. And yeah, it's a neat thing to report on.
And I was on good behavior because, like Tasker said, this stuff happened and I had to catch myself many times. And I think I did a good job. I'm patting myself on the back. And, you know, I think I'm a different man now.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, you were incredibly respectful this entire episode. Well, more so than usual.
So I did it, man. I think that I've ascended. I am a new being, an ultimate being, if you will. And I think I will use my newfound powers justly, but with a soft hand.
That's a good way. It's a good takeaway. And I don't know about you, but because I know we started this episode a little on the pessimistic side, but I'm feeling a little better.
I'm feeling a little bit better too. I'm a little more awake. I think my problem was I was just like really groggy earlier, you know?
Yeah, waking up.
But yeah, I'm feeling better. To see that there's some justice in the world.
Yeah, nothing wakes you up like hearing a story about some guy who fucked a liver.
I mean, hey, that's all that was my bad, man. I was just like taking guesses. I was trying to be creative, you know?
Well, it's important though. I think that's something like, you know, because I'm sure everyone's kind of wondering about it, but we're doing the hard thinking for you, so you don't have to terrorize your imagination with these kind of things.
I thought of another one.
Oh yeah.
Okay, large intestine.
Okay.
Autoerotic asphyxiation, but instead of a belt, you use.
Yeah, I guess it's just that feels like so much more like work than like just a belt. Like I feel like that's just too inconvenient to really be worth it, unless you're into the sexual thrill of the fact that it's a human organ.
I think that's what's going on here, because like nothing seems to be too inconvenient for Dahmer.
Yeah,
so
he puts a lot of work into this shit.
So I think I mean, hey, it's just an idea. I'm not saying I would do it myself. I don't even do it with a belt. All right.
Not
anymore.
Well, it's also. Yeah, well, it's dangerous, man. And I think we've talked about this before. Is also because if you fuck up and you don't get the belt off in time, that's how they find you: is dick in hand, jism all over the place.
But you got the best. You got the best fucking finish of your life.
Shortly followed by the panic of, oh no, I won't be able to get up from this, huh?
Yeah,
shit. Dude. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and as you've been keeping track of the numbers, next episode is the big 100. I mean, we're doing that, of course, a kickback after this because we need to keep everything split up because it's been hella crazy busy. I know, Nick, congratulations. I know you got that job you were looking for, so good job on that.
Thanks, man. See, I was really happy about it, but then I also realized, wait, that means I'm doing 15, 16 units and working. So I was like, It's like bittersweet. Like the financial stress will be gone, but then it'll just be a whole other different type of stress. But it is what it is. I'm doing what you got to do. I'm manning up, and I'm going to cry later in the shower, but it's okay.
Yeah. See, at least you'll be nice and warm when you do it.
Yeah. Good point. Good point, dude.
Looking at positives now, but you know, we were hitting 100 episodes probably after the kickback. It looks like it's going to line up with our 2 years of doing this podcast. So we'll linger and be all sentimental about that when that happens. But yeah, we're hitting a lot of milestones kind of in like one like perfect trifecta. We're getting close to 20,000 listens, which I guess you could say over 2 years worth of having a podcast, having only 20,000 listens is modest, but you know what? We're proud of it. We did this from the ground up. We've had no help in advertising this. We've had obviously outside of, word of mouth and all you guys telling your friends and stuff to listen to. That's all on you. So give yourselves a pat on the back. We're happy to keep on making the show for you. And like I said, we're hitting episode 100 in 2 years at the same time. Just expect a little bit of sentimentality.
Yeah, just a little bit. Probably more so from Tasker than myself, because I'm not one for the sentimental. I'm not one for but I will say that, and I'm not going to get into it until episode 200, but I will say that we have
100.
Whatever, man. You know what I mean, all right?
That's how sentimental you are.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever fucking episode. I don't know. I will say that we have devout listeners, and those of you who reach out to us, we love you guys. Just hearing from you is awesome, to know that you're still listening, to know that what we're saying is still interesting or entertaining. and we thank you guys. So
Yeah, no, we got a killer listeners. You guys are awesome. See, because it's a Jeffrey Dahmer episode.
Yes.
See what I
How droll. Yes. Yes.
Oh, we appreciate you guys all the time. We love hearing from you. You guys have been nothing but kind to us. And some of you were even kind enough to show your Spotify, what is it, the Unwrapped or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, like a couple of you guys had us on like some of your top listens and shit like that. And that was like, I feel like text in the Discord doesn't fully describe like how much that means to us and like how cool that is. And like, that's super awesome. And we couldn't be more proud to be a show that you will want to listen to. And we love doing it. It's also pretty therapeutic for us, and we can let our frustrations out on people who both do and don't deserve it.
Yeah. Yep. And like Tasker was saying, the text is hard to relay emotion. I know I'm not a big. I think Tasker and I are both not great texters. Like, I think like when we write stuff in Discord, it looks like we're like working on our dissertation. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I apologize about that, but know that it's there, that we really do. Thank you for having us be your top podcast. That's something that I never thought I'd see. So
same. Yeah, it's incredible. So thank you guys so much. Like I said, we'll go into this a little bit more, but sort of a preemptive strike because we know it's going to be 2 weeks before the big 100 comes, because that's a huge deal. That's a lot of episodes, and even with kickbacks, like so each of our episodes are, we'll say on average like hour 45 maybe. So we officially have like over 1,000 hours of content.
Yeah. So thank you guys. And based off of some of your numbers on the Spotify Wrapped, you've listened multiple times. So thank you.
Yeah. So much appreciated. Just want to shout that out. Like I said, more when the time comes, but business as usual. So thank you for listening for this one. Obviously Count Chocula episode's still in the work. With Dahmer, we kind of had to step away from it because there's such a thing as too dark. I know we're a bit of we can be kind of edgy, a little too edgy sometimes, but even edginess has a limit.
Yeah, and when you get two sick, sadistic sons of bitches in the same room together, like Jeffrey Dahmer and Count Chocula, things can get a little. Then it's no longer fun. It's no longer funny. It's just kind of sad. I'm back to research. Tasker's back to research on Count Chocula. So we will be working on that episode in order to get back to you guys with that. Eventually, we will get this episode out. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, unfortunately, we probably won't be able to get it out by Christmas, but I know some of you were hoping for that. But we hope that you can enjoy what we have in store for our 100th episode and what we're going to do with all that. So that should be really fun. But Count Chocula episode, it's definitely coming soon. We're definitely going to get that out as soon as we possibly can. But if you're on iTunes, you could 5-star rate and review us. That would super help us to, pump us up so we show up on the search. And actually, a side note here to break up things a little bit. If you search CEO TPK on Google, we are almost the first result. We almost beat we almost beat Scrabble with the anagram.
Wait, so is that the first result is Scrabble?
CEO, yeah. CEO, that's been our ultimate competition, is beating a Scrabble word generator from all Scrabble words that you can make from the letter CEO TPK. That's been the thing we've been trying to beat.
Well, that's difficult to beat. I'll take it.
Yeah. But we're almost there, dude. We're almost at the front page. We show up on Google a lot more, so that's really cool. So if you 5-star rate and review, that would really help we can one day beat Scrabble. That would be that's a huge achievement in my opinion. Also too, if you're listening on Spotify, you can click the follow button. We will update you with every episode every single Wednesday, like usual. Our Instagram is at CEOTPK. YouTube is Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind. Twitter is at CEOTPK1. Our TikTok is at CEOTPK. Facebook is Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind. You can just type that in or go to facebook.com/CEOTPK. Our Facebook, by the way, has all these links in the above, so you don't have to type it out because who likes working? You can email us at ceotpk1@gmail.com. Join our Discord at discord.gg/lowercase b, number 6, capital C, capital T, number 5, capital M, capital X. If you feel the need to donate, we have a coffee, ko-fi.com/CEOTPK. If you have a message you want us to say on the air, please let us know, and we will gladly do so. Just nothing, nothing too weird.
Yeah, but let's get a little weird. I'm always down to get a little weird.
Yeah, there's. I feel like if we didn't get at least a little weird, what the fuck are we doing?
Also, I looked at the Google result myself, dude. We are on 7 of 10 on the first page. That's awesome. If just for CEO TPK, because that's like that's a weird term, you know?
Yeah.
The other ones are just anagram stuff. So we're doing good.
Yeah, we're climbing. And let me see. I'm looking if we type in just our podcast itself. We have a little blurb on the right. People also search for. So it's like, we're like showing up as like with like related to other shows. Let's see. Are we on Amazon Music?
We are. I put us on Amazon Music.
What? I never looked at this. Well, I mean, I could look at this more in my own time, but that's pretty cool. I did not know that.
Wait, Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind. Podcast for Curious Minds. Okay, that's an ad. That doesn't count. So those are ads. Wait, we have an ad?
We have an ad?
The Amazon result ad is the Amazon Music result for us is an ad.
Well, we didn't pay for that. Well, it's more of an ad for Amazon Music,
right?
But using our name because that's what we agreed to, I guess, when we joined. But
I will say though, I'm happy now because when you used to Google Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind, we used to have competition with this other podcast that had been around a lot longer. It's called Close Encounters of the, what was it, Drunk Kind or something or
something. It's some other iteration of it.
Yeah, and we finally kicked him off the front page. So we are just now on the front page, which is awesome to see. I love that.
Yeah, that's right. Because remember we said we need to start punching upwards, to start some drama for free clout.
Yeah, dude, let's just start calling out PewDiePie and see if he responds. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, fucking yeah. PewDiePie, you're bad at games.
You said the N-word once on stream. Yeah. Do you remember that? No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure he remembers that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's reminded every single day. But yeah, thank you guys. We're starting to beat out competition, and we'll see what happens in the future. So thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed the series. Hope you'll enjoy the next upcoming stuff we got for you. And yeah, it's all good stuff.
Look, whether you think that the circle jerk at the end of the episode here was well worth it or not, the truth is out there.
And if you nutted during the circle jerk as you joined us spiritually, yeah, it's not.
Oh God.
Nice.
Oh God. Okay. The tea's coming back up.
Oh, ooh, yeah.
I've been drinking a lot of Earl Grey tea lately because I'm rewatching Star Trek Next Generation, and that's all that Picard drinks, my dude.